So today we're making a fermented recipe using cherry tomatoes. It's another great way to preserve your tomatoes if you have a garden. So as you're filling your jar, you want to make sure that all your tomatoes are completely ripe. You don't want any bad spots on them. And what you're going to do, you're going to take a toothpick, poke a hole in the tomato like this. This allows the brine to get inside the tomato for better preserving. What I'm doing is I'm going to be layering the tomatoes with some basil, and I'm going to put a little garlic in there and some more basil. So basically you're doing like a lasagna layering system. This is super easy. I am using a ½ gallon jar for this recipe. I'm gonna add some more tomato. So I'm gonna use garlic. You can do as much garlic or as little garlic as you want. We're probably gonna use about 8 cloves. So this is another way to get micronutrients into your system, because anytime you ferment, you're gonna get the good bacteria, good little microbes into your gut to actually play a part in your immune system. It helps with digestion, IBS, small intestines, making those good bacteria in the small intestine that actually produce serotonin. So this is going to even be good for your mind. And another way to preserve food, as they did in the old times, for that time when you can't just go to the grocery store and get fresh produce. Obviously, fermentation has been practiced over thousands and thousands of years. I'm going to leave some room up here, because what's going to happen as the fermentation takes place and we add our brine. Here's the brine. I'll talk about that in a second. Once you add your water and you start fermenting it, you're going to produce what's carbon dioxide. It's basically the critters or the bacteria starting to feed on the sugar of the tomatoes. That carbon is going to be released, so we want to make sure we want to leave about 1 inch to the top. You can just use your finger measurement. The first knuckle is going to be about 1 inch, and you want to make sure that you want to leave that space there. Just going to add some more garlic. And now we will be using, I'm going to push it down a little bit. Just going to squeeze it down there. Now you're going to want, after you have your jar full, you're going to make sure you already have your brine made. It's going to make things so much easier. For the brine, you're going to do 4 cups of warm water to 4 tablespoons of sea salt. And you want a quality salt. You want Redmond salt, pink salt, or Celtic salt are my favorites. A gray salt would work too. Just don't use chlorinated, bleached table salt, because you don't want to put those toxins into your body. So at this point, I am just going to dump the brine and make sure that you stir it really good. And the reason why you use warm water is it's because it helps dissolve the salt. So that's going to be it. I'm going to use a little bit more. 1 inch from the very top, and I'm talking about from here to here. You want about 1 inch, so I could fill it up a little bit more. All right. So what you're going to do, you're going to push down gently. You don't want to mess up your tomatoes. Just going to get some of the air out, and then you're going to use. Well, if you get a fermenting kit, it will come with a glass lid that actually drops inside your wide mouth jar, and that will keep the tomatoes below the brine. That is the goal. Keep the tomatoes below the brine, because the salt is what's going to preserve your tomatoes. If you don't have that, like I don't, you can use cabbage. So a cabbage, and you're just going to shove it in there a little bit at a time, and this is going to ensure that your tomatoes stay underneath your brine. Now you can also use more basil leaves. I got my leaf in there. Now we're going to put it in our lid. You're not going to do it too tight, okay? What you're going to do every day, just burp it. Just release the pressure a little bit and then seal it back up lightly, okay? You are going to have to burp this once a day for the first 2 weeks. You're going to keep it in a dark, kind of dark, warm place in your kitchen or in your root cellar. Obviously, the cooler it is, the better. So, you know, a cellar would be good. A basement or a dark cabinet, so you don't want it to be hot. Do not allow sunlight or direct sunlight to hit the glass. After 2 weeks, you can taste it and see if you want more fermentation to happen. Typically around 6 weeks is when it's going to be completely done. At that point, to stop the fermentation process, you're going to take your jar, and that's where you can go ahead and store it in a dark room like the cellar, because it's going to be cooler, or the refrigerator. That's going to start the fermentation process, and then you have your ferments done. Now, obviously, you want to maybe think about a bigger area than your refrigerator to store your ferments, because they're going to last you for so long. And this is another way to preserve your garden vegetables. You can do this with any vegetables, but today we are doing cherry tomatoes. I hope you like this video, and I will be back. Shalom.